move stuff into place. Here we go. I've got 3 games here. I'm going to get through them all. We're going to start. We've got both games between Execration and Stars Boba, as well as the game between Execration and G7. We're going to start with Execration versus G7 because this is a exciting game. That's how I saw it. Let's try and fix my camera first. That's always a good place to start, guys. Make sure you can see everything that's actually on the screen. Anyways, we're looking pretty good now. Execration vs G7. This game was, well, I actually don't know if it was exciting. I know some of the results of some of these games. I don't know the result of every specific game because a lot of the way the format works is that it's a best of 2 series. So a lot of the matches say for example, I know that it was a 1-1 draw. Well, I don't know who won which of the replays. So with that said, I'm going to be opening a replay and having no idea who won it. I have not seen these matches before. Oh wow, I thought there was going to be a draft phase. Okay, so there's no draft phase. This has been remade AP, and the thing that is so exciting about this game is the picks. We've got G7 on the Sentinel side, Execration on the Scourge side, and immediately we see some unusual picks coming out from G7. They have got a very old school lane at top. We've got Kenji playing the Necrolite. He's laning with a Lord of Avernus, so we're going to be seeing a Lord of Avernus Necrolite. This is a lane that was very, very popular. You're looking at, I don't know, probably about 2 years ago almost. It was a popular lane, and bottom lane. Oh wow, we will see some aggression coming out from some of these teams. But yeah, it's a very old school lane, and not something we've seen much of recently. And it's up against an even crazier lane. We've got a Naga Siren, Keeper of the Light, Nerubian Assassin tri-lane that's going to be at top. That much I do know. I remember seeing this tri-lane in one of the replays and thinking, holy cow, I have to cast this game because that is just absolutely unheard of. Those 3 heroes in the tri-lane. Execration are a team from the Philippines. For those of you curious who don't know much about them. Elsewhere, the mid lane, we've got Leo, who's going to be playing that Puck solo mid, up against the DK. So we're going to see DK versus Puck mid. DK is a popular pick in the Filipino Dota scene because they love to bottle crow it, making it able to go solo against opponents that it would normally get outlaned by. You'd think putting DK against a ranged hero, it will get harassed down quite a lot, not be able to farm all that well, but when you bottle crow, basically DK can be a lot more sustainable in that lane. And top lane, Lord of Avernus is actually not in the lane to begin with, although he will be joining them soon, but that's going to give Necrolite some hard time here as we see NA with the DD rune just going to come in for some harassing, but Naga Siren close to follow. There's a gush, so basically stun and then lower his armor means that DD does a lot more damage. You see Necro got took down to half HP with just 1 right click and the 2 nukes, level 1 nukes, which don't really do much damage. So that sort of shows, it sort of gives you an idea of what this top tri-lane is going to be trying to do. Once they get their levels, they can use the net plus gush, impale, and then Keeper of the Light can keep them manaed up, can use a nuke as well. There's just a lot this lane can do. I believe Keeper of the Light actually has that nuke level 1 based on his current mana. I think he would have thrown a nuke, which I missed. And we see Lord of Avernus going for a level 1 heal because this Necro is just going to get constantly harassed down. Bottom lane, the one lane we haven't looked at, although we did see that sort of fail at harass at level 1, is the Shadow Demon Slaughter lane up against the Windrunner. Shadow Demon Slaughter was used quite a bit by Mineski throughout the tournament, and it's quite powerful. Although they used it in a tri-lane situation. As a dual lane, it can't really kill all that much. You need that third hero with a nuke or a disable. In an actual dual lane against the Windrunner, well, you can't really kill the Windrunner because as soon as you come out of the banish, Windrunner can use the Windrun. Sure, you can't dodge the stun, but the Windrun lasts long enough that once that's, you get stunned and then you just run away. It's just not a lane that's going to have enough killing power to kill a Windrunner. I think they're better off having a Shadow Demon Slaughter in sort of a tri-lane because in a dual lane, it's not going to be getting too many kills. Top lane, we see Necrolite actually managing to stay near the creep wave. This tri-lane of the Scourge team with the Nerubian Assassin, you do see NA very low in HP, doesn't really have killing power at level 1. It's going to get stronger and stronger as they level up here, and we are going to see a nuke go down. There's an instant, and they want to go on this Necrolite. We see 1 heal. Here's the Keeper of the Light Blast. This is going to be enough damage here. Oh, maybe not, as the Magic Wand keeps the Necro alive a bit longer. Another heal comes through, and that is the strength of this Necrolite Lord of Avernus lane. It's just so hard to kill. I mean, I said it there. Wow, Necrolite going to go down. But no, Magic Stick combined with the 2 heals from the Lord of Avernus, and Necrolite survived that gank. But the problem is that even though this tri-lane didn't kill the Necrolite, they're stopping him from farming. They're forcing them to constantly use their mana. Lord of Avernus had to use a couple of heals. Necro had to use a heal. Necro had to use his Magic Stick and Tangos. And all the meanwhile, the Scourge team, their tri-lane, they have got Chakra, basically the spell, the Keeper of Light, which gives them mana back to keep them alive. I mean, not to keep them alive, to keep them manaed up, so they can just constantly initiate on this Sentinel team at top lane, and that's going to make it very hard for this Necro and Lord of Avernus to really stay in the lane or farm. We see Necro 3 CS at this point, so not a good start for him, as we do see Necro picking up a magic wand and more branches. This is just mass branch after branch, just for the cheapest possible stat items, which basically goes to show how hard this lane is for the Necro. Just wanting to get all those stat items up. As you see, a shield being put down. The problem is when you put the shield down this early, if they want to go in and say, hey, we can kill him even with the shield, well, you can't use the shield to get rid of a disable. The way shield works is that if you cast it on a hero with a disable on them, it gets rid of that stun. I don't know if it gets rid of Ensnare, because Ensnare is physical, but it definitely gets rid of the Impale stun. It would get rid of Mana Leak, and I don't know if it would get rid of Ensnare. My sort of gut says no, but it may get rid of Ensnare. Maybe we'll find out a bit later, as there's the Ensnare. The shield, okay, it does get rid of Ensnare. That's good to know. Basically, it gets rid of everything, as far as I know. You can get rid of Fiend's Grip, which is like the Bane ultimate. So it's just ridiculously strong at all the spells you can get out of using that shield. But at the same time, it's a short cast range, and it's not. Lord of Avernus can't really do all that much apart from get rid of those disables, and it isn't always in position to do that. We're going to see some beetles, or scarabs, I should say, being summoned by the Nerubian Assassin. As Execration, they just want to make sure this Necro, as said, isn't farming at all. Windrunner at bottom lane, Execration is farming up well. So far, Execration's showing that they like to run this tri-lane, this aggressive tri-lane. They're not too worried about getting kills, but they will constantly be aggressive. Even if they don't get kills, they're not too worried, because they're forcing Necrolite to use up regen, forcing the Lord of Avernus to use his mana up. The only concern is that this Magic Stick could counter this very, very well, and there's a shield immediately to get rid of that snare, but forget killing, they are doing some serious damage to this tier 1 tower. And we do see Keeper Light going for a level 2 blast, so just happy to basically push the Crypt Web as much as possible. Beetle's going to come out, and they have got this silence. How could the Necro shield or anything if he got the silence down? Puck even coming in, but Puck gets silenced as well. So first blood to Execration. They lose Keeper for it. A 1-for-1 trade so far, 2-for-1. Execration not having a good start at this. Not having a good trade so much. They definitely got the first blood, but they were on the bad receiving end, losing two heroes, only getting 1 kill. But that was some nice Beetle micro. I mean, I don't think Execration are going to be too worried about that. They forced the Puck to come top. They maybe could have been a bit more aware of Puck heading towards that top lane from mid. But meanwhile, I mean, overall, Execration are winning their lanes. Mid lane, DK, 24 CS, to Puck with only 15 CS. Bottom lane, Windrunner has 20 CS against a dual lane. Windrunner is the same CS as the Slaughter at this point in the game. So, as far as Execration are concerned, they're farming in all 3 lanes, and that's something that can really give you a huge boost and advantage over your opposing team. They've got a farmer in every lane with over 20 CS at 6 minutes in, where if you look at G7, Necro only with 11 CS, Slaughter's only just on 20, Puck hasn't even hit 20 yet, it's only on 15 CS, and we're actually going to see some aggression coming out of DK here. Is he going to have a Flame Breath? It doesn't. Oh, it looks like he may. It does. So a solo kill on mid lane coming out from DK on Puck, and that is not what you want to see from your solo Puck. So DK is actually beating the mid lane, the Puck, and here it's going to be. This is what I was talking about. The Bottle Crow coming out from DK. Have they got 2 crews? Yes, the other crew is at bottom, so it's both Windrunner as well as DK doing the bottle crowing, and Windrunner maybe going to go down the bottom lane here. Yes, 1 more hit from Slaughter. I don't think Windrunner had boots there. Did Windrunner have boots? Yeah, Windrunner had boots, but Slaughter just with the sprint too fast, and Keeper of the Light picks up a kill on the Necrolite. So this aggressive tri-lane doing some serious damage, as it looks like once again G7 going to pick up 2 kills. Make it 3 kills. As they kill everyone on the map apart from the DK. So all 3 heroes at top go down. And This is Execration. They're being aggressive. They're winning their lanes, but the one thing they're not calculating for is the ganks. So Puck coming in at the right time, picking up a couple kills. It's happened twice now where Puck comes from mid lane. So definitely one of the things that Execration need to be wary of and take from this game is that they outlane their opponents. They had a better draft in terms of lanes, but when it came to the actual movement around the map, their opponents moved around the map and caught them by surprise, specifically the Puck. But to take from this game is that they completely dominated the laning phase, and that's going to give them a big advantage in terms of gold and items at this point in the game. And they're also chipping away at this top tower, and we're going to see DK doing some bit of damage to the mid tower. He did get the one kill. You'd think with ulti form you could do a bit more damage if he chipped away. Definitely with flame breath spam and the ulti form, DK is capable of chipping away at this mid tower, and by about 15 minutes in the game, that mid tier 1 tower should be about ready to go down if it has not already gone down to a solo DK. The only way that doesn't happen is if you have more than one hero devoted to that mid lane, keeping it up. And we are going to see two heroes there at the moment as Necrolite. This is Execration forcing the Necrolite out of the mid lane. Necrolite goes to mid lane to farm because, I mean, the way the G7 strat works is that Necro and Slaughter are their two key heroes to farm up. But they've already shut down one of them. But the problem is for G7 is that they need them both to have items up. They need a mech up on the Necro, and they need Slaughter to have his Treads, Vanguard, and tanky items up, maybe a Blink Dagger, maybe a BKB. Bottom lane, we see a 1-for-1 trade here as G7, they're on the front foot in terms of kills, but the actual advantage right now is fairly equal between these two teams. If anything, I'd say Execration are looking slightly better, but not by much. But this mid-game damage output that you are going to be seeing from this Execration team is going to be pretty scary. Slaughter, Lord of Avernus, and Necrolite, they're all sort of passive mid-game heroes. Not so much, okay, passive's probably the wrong word. They're not so much as passive, but they're not heroes with huge DPS or teamfight capabilities that early on. They're not going to be able to burst down a hero. Whereas a Naga Siren with his big AoE gush damage as well as the minus armor, the Keeper of the Light illuminate damage, DK Flame Breath, Impale from the Nerubian Assassin, and we run a power shot. That's 5 heroes with an AoE nuke, and that does a fair bit of damage. So there's a huge amount of killing power on Execration. Once they all get sort of level 7, level 8, as we do see, Lord of Avernus gets taken down very low, uses a soaring. Something I don't think Lord of Avernus realized is you can't use ultimate and then soaring, and here we're going to see a blast. He gets rid of it, and that is a nice combo, using that sleep to make sure the illuminate blast from the Keeper of the Light can do maximum damage, although they do lose one in return, as Necro does take out the Naga Siren, and it's actually DK at mid who picks up another kill on the Puck by the looks of it. So DK and NA, these Beetles are going to make it hard. Honestly, in terms of the draft, I mean, if you look at this Execration draft, they're on the Scourge, they have got some unusual heroes you never see. Keeper of the Light, Nerubian Assassin, Naga Siren. These three heroes are rarely seen in competitive Dota, but the draft, it has a lot of synergy. They have these Beetles to stop the Puck silence, to stop the Lord of Avernus from using his heal, from using his shield. If they silence a Puck or a Lord of Avernus and then initiate on someone else, like they can initiate on Necrolite, silence the Puck or silence the Lord of Avernus, and suddenly they cannot protect the Necrolite. This Sentinel draft relies around backing each other up and saving each other's lives if they get ganked. So if Slaughter gets ganked or if the Necrolite gets ganked, they have spells to back him up. Puck can all be in, use his ultimate and silence. Lord of Avernus can come in and heal and use the shield, but the Beetles are a great countermeasure to that. So I definitely think there's a lot of synergy with this Scourge draft, not to mention, as you saw earlier, the sleep coming out from Naga Siren with the Keeper of the Light illuminate. I mean, that does a lot of damage. And all these AoE nukes combo well with the Naga Siren. Naga Siren can use that sleep, they can charge up they can get in position for their nukes, Keeper can charge up his nuke, while the rest of the team get in position to use Impale, use the Flame Breath, and use the Power Shot or Shackle Shot, and suddenly you have a great team fight, all because of that Naga Siren sleep setting it up. So definitely Execration here. You can see, I mean, in my eyes, they've thought this draft out and planned it, because there's just a lot of synergy there. These heroes work well together, even if they aren't the popular metagame picks. So definitely, it's something interesting to look at with their draft as we do sort of analyze how they play throughout this GEST IDC. They didn't make it quite through the playoffs, but they definitely had a good run for those of you who didn't follow the tournament. And we are going to see DK mid going for the Lothar's Edge first build. It is a popular build in the Philippines. They do love to have that first item, Lothar's Edge, on DK. Basically using the Bottle Crow, Treads, Magic Wand, and then getting that Lothar's Edge up as fast as possible. As we do see DK with a DD rune. And Execration, they push down this mid T1 tower. As said, it should be down by the 15-minute mark with a DK in mid lane. And the bottom T1 tower, hard to push that one because the Slaughter is going to be constantly there, farming up some items, unless they do maybe a 3-man gank on him and then transition into a push. But we are seeing a bit of a gank here, as Nerubian Assassin is there. And Slaughter is getting taken down, 800 HP, needs to be careful. As meanwhile, the rest of the G7 team are doing what they can at mid lane. And here we see Puck overextending a bit, and Nagasaki, as said, this is a huge amount of burst damage. If G7 make one small mistake, they get punished for it. And that's what we saw there, as Shadow Demon in a bit of trouble here, will go down. Huge nuking damage capabilities, and Lord of Avernus. One Lord of Avernus cannot out-heal this burst damage, basically. This has gotten to a point where it's not that this Lord of Avernus Necrolite... I mean, you saw how hard they were to kill at level 1, level 2. But once it gets level 7, it suddenly becomes... they're a lot easier to kill. It's one of those things where these Scourge heroes scale really well into the mid-game, whereas the Lord of Avernus doesn't scale as well. Once those heroes get big burst damage nukes, basically once they get level 7 to level 10... suddenly, Lord of Avernus isn't as great at keeping heroes alive. You can see there, 4 Sentinel heroes in a team fight, and Lord of Avernus could not keep down whoever gets focused in the 4v4 situation. It works in a 2v3 situation, but once you get to these big team fights, Lord of Avernus cannot out-heal a 4 to 5 hero DPS. So, definitely something to look at when you're picking Lord of Avernus or considering that for your lineup is what's going to happen mid-game, what's going to happen in team fights. Can Lord of Avernus really make much of a difference when you start having those team fights and he can't save whoever gets focused down? I mean, you can get rid of 1 stun using the shield. You can heal up a bit of damage, but there's going to be more than 1 disable. There's going to be quite a lot of burst damage, and here we see Execration looking to continue to be aggressive. Slaughter's the first target. He's got that Vanguard. I think they will switch targets to the Shadow Demon or the Puck. One of these squishy heroes there. They're actually going to back off a bit because the entire G7 team here has TP'd in. And it's actually going to be Nerubian Assassin who finds his Shadow Demon, and Shadow Demon will survive thanks to that Purge, as the Nerubian Assassin did do a fair bit of damage. And once again, now it's Necrolite getting really burst down a lot. There's the nukes, 1 nuke, Keeper of the Light Blast is going to come in, and Slaughter and Puck as well, both in a lot of trouble here. It's just, they have got spammable burst damage, which is just so hard to deal with, and Puck is going to do all he can to escape. Wow. Fantastic power shot there coming out from Nivek 8D, the Windrunner, and this is pretty much a team wipe here for Execration. As wow, this team fight is scary. They are so hard to kill. I mean, when you look at Vanguard on Naga Siren, you've got the Beetles from the Nerubian Assassin, you've got DK with the Lothars making him hard to kill, and Windrunner just has great mid-game skills with Shackle Shot and Power Shot, both max at this point. And we will see Keeper of the Light as well. Going to be Keeper of the Light can spam that chakra to give everyone mana, and that basically creates this Death Ball army that can't be fought. I mean, if you look at this 5v5 battle now, what can G7 do in a team fight? Necrolite is underfarmed, Shadow Demon is really squishy, Slaughter has a Vanguard, but he doesn't have any backup from his team really. Beetle's going to come in, spam some silences, mostly just to prevent him from using that Slither and Crush, and Execration using this lineup really magnificently. G7, not really much they can do here. It's just a matter of, for me, it's partly the strategy used by Execration, limiting their options, and it's a game where G7 needed to do better in lanes. They needed to get those items up early. They needed this mech. They couldn't have Puck losing that mid lane so badly. And then looking at bottom lane, Slaughter, Shadow Demon, they did all right, but they didn't really shut down the Windrunner. Windrunner managed to farm, so Execration made the most of every lane they could, and as a result, well, Execration are looking very good here. They're up 16 kills to 9. They were initially behind on kills. If you guys remember, it was about a 3 or 4 kill lead to G7 early on. That kind of shows how Execration have heroes that need levels. They don't really shine at level 1 to 6. They shine at level 7 to 10, and that's kind of the stage of the game we're at now. And Execration are pushing their advantage now. They didn't try team fight early on. They didn't keep staying in their lanes once they got their levels. I mean, a lot of teams, they stay split up between lanes, focus on split pushing, but as soon as they got their levels and early items up, you see them grouping up together, looking to push here, and Slada are going to be in a bit of trouble here, as we do see. There's the Chakra. Wingrow was out of mana, but going to be completely manaed up now as DK looking for this Slada. Does have, oh, there's the Shackle Shot. They do find him, and the Flame Breath will finish him off. As having a quick look at the farm and items, DK level 14, level 12 on Naga Siren, Keeper with an Urn Arcane Boot, so very smart item going for that Urn on Keeper of the Light, because there's so many kills going down, and they're getting so low HP, but these Urn charges will help keep them healed up, and definitely a smart item choice there from the Keeper of the Light. We're going to go for a Necro Book. This is probably the most unusual item that's been chosen for this team Execration, but it works. It works with their aggression. It gives them some sort of a bit of a meat shield to some extent, as well as some extra DPS and the mana drain, which is fairly useful against some heroes like Slada who have a low mana pool and get hurt badly by that mana drain. If you can't cast a stun as a Slada, if you can't cast that sprint, suddenly there's not a whole lot you can do in a team fight this early on to the game. At level 10, when you have Vanguard on the Slada, you're relying on having mana for those stuns. So Necrobook could be a useful item to throw against him. Not to mention when you get Necro 2, Necro 3, suddenly it can do some serious DPS. But I think one of the probably the key heroes here has been this Nerubian Assassin. Using these Beetle Silence has secured them a lot of kills, and now they can use the Keeper like Recall. One of those spells that is definitely underrated, and we'll see Keeper of the Light definitely sort of appearing in competitive Dota quite a bit, especially in Dota 2 when he does get implemented with the limited pool. And constant burst damage being thrown around. Wow, another recall. This recall with such a short cooldown is suddenly making Keeper of the Light a very viable pick. As Shadow Demon, there you see, gets burst down to half HP. One heal gets him back to full, but then instantly back to half HP as well. He gets taken down to 5 HP. He must have killed that blue Necrobook, because he took damage from what seemed to be nothing. So we would have killed that blue Necrobook, and this just shows that burst damage beats the heal lineup, because right now this Lord of Avernus heal and shield lineup is being absolutely teared apart by this burst damage team lineup. Basically, aggression is proving to be stronger than defensiveness. G7 are playing so defensive, they're reacting to what their opponent's doing, but as a result, they're underfarmed, underleveled, and just being constantly burst down by these Execration heroes who just have so much damage. They're massing, they sort of are massing. They've got a number of arcane boots. They've got the urn. I'm surprised they maybe don't have a mech at this point. Definitely think mech will just give them a lot more durability and allow them. You think of mech, it's a defensive item, it heals you up, but it also allows you to be very aggressive. If you see all these heroes quite low on HP, getting a mech, you can get mech on the Keeper of the Light. He has gone from Medallion, but you go mech on Keeper of the Light, and basically all these heroes who are missing about 300 to 400 HP suddenly can be healed up constantly, and as a result they can be even more aggressive. Just constantly aggressive. DK at mid lane, going for that BKB, and it looks like Execration gonna back off a bit, give their opponents some room to farm, as they will, in exchange, take Roshan, as there's nothing G7 can do at this point. This is where G7 are so far behind. Probably the biggest thing here is the level difference. G7 are level 10 or level 9. Execration are level 10 to level 15. Most of their heroes are level 12 and 13. They've got one at 15 and one at level 10. So they have a massive level advantage. And this is 22 minutes in the game, and we've almost got a level 16 Dragon Knight. That is absolutely massive. Having a level 16 DK just 22 minutes in the game, that is huge. And DK has just been getting so many kills. He's just played fantastic here. As this is G7. For me, this is like their last hurrah. They see their opponent's Roshan, and they think, okay, we need to get this. And here we are going to see Naga Sirens using that sleep. It's not so much because they're in a bad fight, it's because they want to set up better As maybe they thought, okay, we're not in the best position. We've got these AoE spells that we can use. Let's just reposition ourselves as Naga Siren. Ensures a few more kills go into his team's favor. 4 kills go down into Execration's favor. And that is going to see ourselves get into a scenario where G7, there's just no coming back here almost. They are just getting so far behind in farm and items. DK now level 16. This is probably the fastest I've ever seen a DK get that level 3 ultimate coming into play. At just 22.5 minutes in, he has the level 3 ultimate. We're going to see a Necrobook 3 up on Windrunner. Keeper of the Light is going for that mech now by the looks of it. And when you have a Keeper of the Light mech, Windrunner Necrobook 3, DK level 16, this army, when they come together, when they push together, it's going to be near unstoppable. And I don't think there's going to be anything G7 can do to defend their base. I mean, Puck has some ranged AoE, but look at these items. Nothing. Nothing on Puck. Nothing on Lord of Avernus. Nothing on Shadow Demon. Nothing on Necrolite. Necrolite doesn't even have the mech. It's only Slaughter who has the Vanguard, and Slaughter's going to be the one that they sort of look to sort of make it possible to fight here. They do take out the Aegis, but this is not going to be a good fight, I feel, as DK pops the BKB, goes in, takes out the Shadow Demon, as well as the Lord of Avernus, and the kills just keep on pouring into the favor of Team Execration. They're now up 31 kills to 10, and we do see a kill going back. Finally, G7 pick up a kill, their first kill in what seems to be ages. But this game, guys, this is an absolute stomp in my eyes, and it wasn't because G7 played badly. If you look back to the early game where G7 got ahead, they were up maybe 7 kills to 3. The Puck ganked top lane a few times, but Execration, they knew they had the farm, they had the heroes that could win it mid-game. They made it so they won their lanes. They outfarmed their opponents in every lane. They also made it so, come mid-game, when their heroes grouped up as 5, they were stronger. What you saw come out from G7 is they ganked a bit better, but they don't even have a ganking lineup apart from the Puck. The problem is G7 played a ganking game to try to shut down their opponents, but with your only ganker being the Puck, they were never going to be able to shut down their opponents through ganks. So I think G7, they lost from the get-go with their strategy, or maybe I should say Execration won with their strategy, if we're going to be optimistic here, because G7 were having a Puck roam around the map, but they were losing lanes. They weren't going to be able to win those mid-game fights because they don't have the heroes to do it. Lord of Avernus hasn't been all that effective apart from that first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. Shadow Demon's done absolutely nothing apart from support the Slider at bottom, but you could have done that with any support hero. CM, Witch Doctor, Vengeful Spirit, you have to pick these heroes for a reason and fit them into your lineup. Think, okay, how are we going to play this? What do we need apart from just a support hero? What kind of support hero do we need? And we are going to see Nerubian Assassin find the Slaughter. Slaughter will go down by the looks here as, wow, Naga Siren going for a heart. The item choices at this point don't really matter. It's more the fact that Execration is so far ahead in farm and levels that any item is a good item. As we do see Naga Siren going by. Not saying it's a bad item choice generally, but not really the most common item choice on a Naga Siren. But definitely a viable item choice, as this is going to be pretty much GG here. I believe this push cannot be stopped. Slaughter is dead, and he's sort of the only one with any sort of items, as we just established. And this is one of those games where this was Dota 2 and I had my fancy little graph which plotted up and down lines of where the gold graph was going. This would be a huge downward sloping line in the favor of the Scourge, as Execration probably have about a 15,000 gold lead at this point. Look at these items on DK. BKB, Hyperstone, and Lothars. Keeper of the Light has massive items. Naga Siren has a Heart Diffusal Vanguard pretty much. Nerubian Assassin is the poorest one and most underleveled, but he's definitely played a key part using the Beetles. His Beetles have been, basically, I mean, there's the Nerubian Assassin and the Beetles. The Beetles have done as probably more than the Nerubian Assassin to contribute to this victory. If you consider them a separate entity to the Nerubian Assassin, the Beetles have been more important than the Impale, then the Vendetta, and then the Mana Burn. The Beetles have, the Silence is just been, it's pretty much the reason this hero was picked. And when your hero is picked for these Beetles, well, you don't really need him getting items and farm up because, well, he gets the Beetles regardless. And that's going to be GG, guys. So, game number 1 there, that for today's little look at Team Execration, or the Execration Hour as I've called it, and a very, very aggressive strat coming there, and basically Execration showing that you can win games based on pure aggression. And that was somewhat, I don't know, for me, seeing that game, Execration made very few mistakes. They did get ganked a few times by the puck from mid lane, but in the end, it was, they gave up those kills in exchange for more farm and a better mid-game presence, as their mid-game fight was just absolutely scary. Anyways, guys, we're going to hop into our next game, which is going to be, it's going to be Execration up against Stars Boba. So,